Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Phantom from the Defenders of the Earth line from NECA Toys. I actually found this today at my local Target. Previously I believe they were Walmart exclusives, but they're obviously now available at Target, so definitely check your Targets if you're looking for these. If you're not familiar with Defenders of the Earth, it was an 80s cartoon show that had a host of characters, and you can see them all here on the back of the packaging. You had Flash Gordon, the Phantom, Mandrake the Magician, Lothar, and then they were fighting Ming the Merciless, who is Flash Gordon's main villain from his comics. So there are a host of comic characters that I believe are all owned by the same company, and they decided to make a cartoon out of it. So I'm a big fan of the Phantom. I'm not too familiar with the other characters, and I'm not actually familiar with the cartoon show. I know of it because it's an 80s cartoon and it has an excellent theme song, but I've never really seen an episode of the show. But you can see down here, the Phantom, the Ghost Who Walks, that's his nickname. This line down here in blue, this is actually the excerpt from the theme song describing the Phantom. And then you have a little bio down here. Collect the whole world of heroes and villains. I love this down here. So back in the day, there was a line of figures for this cartoon made by Galoob. And NECA has kind of replicated their logo. And you can see how it comes down here because back in the day, that was the G from Galoob that went around. So I think that's really fun. NECA's really good at kind of doing that where they'll take, you know, their name and put it in a different font or something like the FHE logo on the Ninja Turtle boxes and things like that. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, so we have the Phantom here. Apparently he comes with Zuffy. Not familiar with who Zuffy is. He's got a blaster. He's got a couple of blast effects and things like that. So we're going to take a look. Going to go ahead and get him out of the box and we'll dive in. So here's the Phantom out of the packaging. He looks pretty great. They did a really nice job. It's a beautiful shade of purple. I really think they did a nice job with him. Let's take a closer look at the face sculpt. Really nicely sculpted and painted. He's even got a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow. The mask looks great. I think they did a great job with that. The head's on a hinge and a ball joint. So you have a lot of nice movement there. Side to side, up and down. All the way around. Really, really nice. Pretty good here on the shoulders. Now, there's no butterfly joint, but it just kind of moves around in there, and you can see the hinge goes up pretty well. You have a bicep swivel. The paint looks a little smudged, almost like there's a fingerprint in there or something. I'm not 100% sure what that's about. And then he's got double jointed elbows, which are a little tight. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of the joints on my figure are really tight to the point that I can't move all of them. But I feel like I will get there in time. I might just have to warm them up a little bit. This one moves perfectly fine. It's just this top one I'm having trouble moving. Can I get it to move on this? On this arm, I think I got it to move. They're really tight. I'm pretty sure I can get it, though. Let me try this. Alright, I'll have to play with it some more. So you can see I can move it a little bit. The elbows are kind of tight, so be careful with that. The bottom ones I feel like move perfectly fine. It's just the top ones. Bicep swivel. Even this shoulder's a little bit tighter than the other one is, so you can always get a hair dryer to kind of warm them up and move them around. He's got this ab crunch, which is really tight, and it kind of has that little bit of a cut in the back. He's got a swivel at the waist. He's got really nice joints here in the hips. It's just like this one can kind of kick forward and then this one can't. And I've seen a lot of people talk about it online, and it's the way the kind of hips are done now where it's a piece here and then this hip kind of plugs into it. And so for whatever reason, this one can kind of move, but this one doesn't move forward all that well. Your thigh swivels are really nice. They can move perfectly fine. Double jointed knees look good. Get the second one to bend. Again, they're a little tight, but I can get the double joints on that to bend. You have a boot swivel. You have a hinge here and a rocker in the ankle. And then you have toe articulation. So my right toe works great. This one got caught so that when I tried to move it, it snapped. And it looks okay on this side, but it snapped over here. You can see how it actually kind of separated. So you can see right there where it still moves, but it's a little messed up. So that's a bit of a bummer, but it's down on the toe, and I feel like I won't notice it all that much. But something to definitely be careful of. Like I said, a lot of these joints are kind of tight, and I think a lot of times they paint over the joints, and that causes them to stick. So it's definitely something you want to be careful of, because if you try to move them, sometimes you have to. I like to try to use like an X-Acto knife to kind of cut around where the joint's supposed to move, because if any paint has kind of stuck it in place, you can kind of break that. And that's what I eventually did. I kind of broke it with an X-Acto knife and then kind of gently moved it, and I was able to get it to move. And now it's fine. It's just a little broken in that spot, but it's on the outer part of the leg, so I don't really notice it all that much. So I'll probably just live with it. But just something to be aware of. He does have his rings. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer there. So he's got the skull ring on that hand, and then over here on this hand, he's got another ring. This one's a little bit harder to make out what it is, to the point that I really can't tell what it is. But he does have some alternate hands. And unfortunately, much like the turtles, they've, painted the hands, and as soon as you try to move the joints, the paint just kind of comes off in flakes. It's really unfortunate. I wish they would either not paint them. Honestly, I would rather you paint the hand and leave this piece unpainted so that it can move freely, or just use some other kind of paint that's not going to flake as much, or maybe just completely mold these out of this color. That way it's just plastic and you don't have to worry about the paint. I don't know. Obviously they do this for a reason. I'm assuming it's a budgetary constraint, but it is a bit of a bummer. But you do have a trigger hand here. You have this hand, which is really cool because it's got a peg hole where his ring would be, and there's an effect piece we're going to plug in a minute. Hey, you know what? I'll just get it now. Why not? It's a really long effect piece, really nice, and you can peg this in so that it looks like his ring is firing the beam, and that's really cool. I like that a lot. That's a really cool effect piece. He also has this gun, which is fairly simple. Oops, as I knocked the camera over, let's fix this. Hold on a second. Apologies there. Really nice. Really, really nice. I like the kind of, what would you call it? Metallic purple, I guess. I guess it's a metallic. And then this is the trigger finger hand. So this just pops in here. And there we go. So that looks great. Really, really nice. And then this has some effect pieces. You have a kind of small little effect piece if you just want it to be firing. And then you have another really long effect piece if you want it to be firing a super long beam. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. I really do. So great effect pieces. The little blaster looks really good. And I love the hand where the ring can fire. I think that's really, really cool. Now, he also has this little guy. I, again, am not familiar with this cartoon at all, but he's a really cool little dude. Apparently, his name is Zuffy. And you can see he's got a joint here in the tail with a hinge. He's got head movement. Head's on a little ball joint. You have a hinge and a swivel in the shoulder. And then the legs are just on ball joints. Now, full disclosure, one of mine just completely popped off. But it's just a ball joint. You just pop it back on. So if that would happen, it's very simple to just pop it back on there. So there is a ball joint for the hips. And then you have the hinge and swivel for the shoulders and the tail. And he's pretty nicely detailed. He comes with this little crystal. These little antennae up here, which are pretty cool. So again, I'm not familiar with this character at all. But they did a good job with him. He's very cool, very detailed, very nicely painted, good articulation for a fun little pack-in figure. It would have been very easy to just have this be a static, one-pose figure with no articulation. But they decided to go above and beyond and give him, 6 little points of articulation. So, pretty cool. I like him. Like I said, don't really know who he is, don't know anything about him, but I think he's pretty neat. So, all in all, I think the Phantom looks good. I was really happy to pick him up because, like I said, I'm a big fan of the Phantom. And even if you're not familiar with the cartoon, it's a good-looking Phantom figure. I really love the shade of purple. He's nicely articulated, really nicely detailed. He's not perfect. Like I said, I had some problem with the joints. A lot of them are just too tight to move. so you might want to warm them up with like a hair dryer or something. This problem I had specifically with the toe articulation, where I kind of, while I was trying to move it, it just snapped immediately on me, which is a bummer. But I think it'll be okay. The only thing I wish he had, and I don't think the show had this, but a holster for his weapon on his belt. That's the only thing I could really ask for. Other than that, he's pretty great. Really nicely detailed. I love the ring. I love the ring firing the beam. I'm going to go ahead and switch that out. It's very simple to just pop the hands out. There we go. Oh, wow. Yeah. Just look at all that paint. It never stays. Like, I wish they would just not bother to try to paint these, because it never lasts. And then I'll try to pop this one in. There we go. And then we have the firing ring. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. That's really neat. So I think this is a really cool figure. I like it a lot. Just be wary if you are thinking about picking it up. It's not perfect. There are a few things. Most notably, the joints are very stiff, so just be careful with that. And then the whole waist thing, where the one leg really can't move forward all that much. Other than that, pretty great. So if you can deal with those couple little things, or if you know how to fix those, I've seen some people pop the hips out and kind of file it down, and then it's not a problem anymore. I'm probably not going to try that because I don't trust myself enough to put it back together correctly. I'm not that savvy. But if you can do something like that, if you can modify it a little bit, if you're okay with the paint chips, that kind of stuff, I think there's a lot of good here. There's just a couple things that you kind of have to deal with a little bit, but they shouldn't be too hard to mitigate. So, you know, I recommend picking it up. Maybe you want to wait for a sale or something. I don't know how long these are going to be around. That's the only thing I would caution. So if you really want this, I would say go ahead and just pick it up now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.